Remember when I said I wanted to search the Shovel Knight stage for any more secrets? Well, apparently there's a big one. In each section of the stage, there is a dev teleporter that'll immediately take you to the next section earlier. That way you can complete the stage much faster, and the first teleporter is over here. That's how the speedrunners of the stage actually complete the stage much faster than you usually would be able to without taking these teleporters. And of course I'll be showcasing each and every one of them. The next one in the Molten Knights segment should be here. Or should I say Mole Knights. This one's a little bit more of a nuisance to get, but it's fine as well. There's a block over here, but in reality the teleport is just left of here, for some reason. It's usually in the first or second screen, except for Mole Knight, of course. Here you need to slide. The next one is down here. Let's see if I can get it. Good. There's an invisible block over there, and if you're not careful, you can easily slide off. That happened to me a bunch of times when testing this. But that's how you easily get a normal / no death run. I'm not sure if you can do that Buster only, but we'll see. And that's how people like Link, Peter, Dylan, Mist were able to complete the stage so quickly, and how I was able to complete it under a minute. Well, that's all of the other secrets in Shovel Knight. Back to the original part. Greetings everyone, my name is Etterville, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Make a Good Mega Man Level Contest 2, or MaGMML2 for short. During the last part, I covered 3 more levels in Tier 4, so in this part I'll be completing Tier 4 and moving on to Tier 5. So the last level of Tier 4 is, in 51st place, Enhanced Mobility by Trainman 2177 WS, with an average score of 25.8. Seems to be relatively decent scores, although Ace is of course the harshest one, along with Jupy for some reason, probably because the gimmick wasn't utilized too well. So it has 2 energy elements, so 2 exits and 3 noble nickels. Oh neat, instead of having the 8-bit musical track, we have the Proto Man Castle team from Mega Man 5 from Mega Man 5 Complete Works. I wonder where this teleporter takes us to. Ah, so it's one way and it bounces up directly upwards. I want to get all of those bolts though. I'll need as many as I can for getting all the costumes. Although off screen I did play the gem minigame in the Tier 3 Forest, so I accrued a lot of bolts. I'll have to also issue a correction for the challenge room, but I will be doing it after I complete this tier. And of course I also have my autofire hotkey ready, in case for any really durable enemies, although it's not as necessary as it was for Mega Maker, thankfully. This takes me directly upwards, it seems. I need to hold right in order to climb upwards. That's neat. I need to make sure not to go into that teleporter so I don't get telefragged. I'm always suspicious there's pathways on the left side, and lo and behold, there's the first exit. Well, that was fast. Hopefully the other pathway is shorter. And of course there's an E&M tank hidden here as well as a noble nickel. I was really suspicious of that latter. And lo and behold, it's actually worth it. I will need to restock and eat tanks, and so this is the first path of Enhanced Mobility. This is supposed to be, I presume, like a secret pathway, because it only took me 1 minute and 36 seconds. That's way too short for a stage of this caliber, or a stage of this size, especially with the score it got. At least it respawns all these bolts. That's going to be really appreciated. It's one of these good places for farming bolts, that's for sure. Although I use the gem farming minigame or the gem minigame in order to accrue more bolts more quickly. Ouch. I wasn't close enough. But this pathway loops up with that one, so I'll just take the other route. Let me see. Darn, I was really hoping those would respawn. Oh well. But at least the previous screen and this screen are a nice introduction to the challenges coming ahead. where all of these Galaxy Man teleporters will shoot you upwards. So you gotta be careful so you don't end up embedding yourself on the spikes. I guess the next pathway is going to the right, it seems. And the left pathway was a secret one, although it wasn't that well hidden. Well, that Noble Nickel was out there right in the field. And I see I have enough Noble Nickels in order to collect the next Nightman item. After all, I needed only 35. And as I was saying, we have the next Mega Man 8 sliding segment, or the jet ski segment, or sled segment. Although here it's a lot harder than the one in Shovel Knight. A lot more pits. Gotta be careful. Oh, that was really short. Well, I guess there was off-screen spikes over there. At least the checkpoint was right over there, so I'm not complaining too much. I'm not going for a no-death run, that's for sure. I really should be using the Grab Buster more. The reason why I don't use it as much is because it doesn't... Well, it's more of a special or gimmick weapon because it doesn't deal as much damage to most enemies outside of few ones like these enemies. Its main use, of course, is for restoring my health upon every hit. That's why I like to use it. It seems to be really useful against durable enemies though, so I probably should be using it more. It's only against certain enemies like whatever these ball cannon enemies are. Phew, I was worried I was gonna fall into a spike pit. And now we have a spike descent segment where you need to be careful where we're falling. At least we have all these Galaxy Man teleporters to make this a little bit less scary, but you need to be careful so you don't get telefragged by them. A quick segment, but it's fine. Not taking any chances here, I will be using the special weapons everywhere. I have the option of doing so after all. Oh goody, and next a jet bike segment, or sledding segment. Oh wow. Well, I thought I was gonna die in there, but I got it first try. I get the feeling there's a Noble Nickel somewhere on the right side. Darn, I hit the corner of the spikes over there. Still, the collision's better than Mega Maker. I saw it, I explicitly hit the side, whereas in Mega Maker you can end up in a situation where you don't even touch the spike and you still die. Okay, then I'll just take the left pathway. It seems the right pathway is a little bit too precise for my taste. Oh, and it was exactly the same, it was just an alternate way of doing it. And I spied a third Noble Nickel, that was fast. Well, as long as I immediately hold the correct directional key, or direction on my controller, I will be able to make the jump. I want to be careful so I don't end up embedding myself in the spikes or something. I was expecting it to be a lot more precise, but no, it was actually relatively generous. That was enhanced mobility, through the usage of Galaxy Man teleporters. Well, this was an average stage, but I did like the gimmick. I've seen it used before in Mega Maker, but it was fine. I liked Shovel Knight more. In fact, Shovel Knight's currently my favorite level of the Tier 4. Specifically because of its section design and whatever else, but this was still fun. Probably a second or third. And the last segment with the ending shaft was pretty fun too. Although the sled segments were kind of not introduced in the best fashion. The first one was a bit too difficult, and the second and third, oh goody, if you were not careful you could easily die. It didn't feel like a disaster to me. Sure, there were some places where you had to fight enemies in more plain segments, but the different level architecture made the enemy encounters a bit more fun. Maybe slowing it down would be easier, but to be fair, if you held left or held right and you reacted fast enough, you would never be embedded into the spikes. So I don't mind the quick reaction times here. It's not as bad as some of the quick reaction force beam segments in other Mega Man fan games and ROM hacks. Honestly, the enemy spam wasn't that bad actually, but to be fair, it was more due to the different level architecture. Overall, this level's alright, it's probably a 25 out of 50 from me. And apparently you can skip the Frostman sled segments for some reason. But as I said, this stage really feels like it's an average one. At least the checkpoint placement is good, like Ace points out, and it has a discernible gimmick, those being the one-way Galaxy Man teleporters shunting you upwards. Well, all that remains is of course a Tier 4 boss. One Direction Concert. I guess this is a pun in relation to Punk's name. So it's time to face the Tier 4 boss. And as Toadman mentioned at the beginning, or should I say the end of the last part, there are two red Roadmasters who jump below, and we have to see what's going on there. And the bosses of this tier are Scorch Man from Zookman Z and Scorch Man from Mega Man Sunrise, who are in a deep argument of being who is the better Scorch Man. I find it a nice touch, and it kind of addresses one of the things of how there are overlapping Roadmaster names in various Mega Man fan games and ROM hacks, although sometimes the implementation and teaming can be quite different. And if you're wondering, Zookman Z was a Mega Man X bootleg, or should I say Mega Man Extreme bootleg for the GBC, although with a lot different graphics and gameplay, and it was rather spotty in several areas. I haven't played it, I only watched 1 or 2 videos on it, and even then I don't know much about it. Only thing I know about it is the fact that it's like a Mega Man Extreme bootleg. Mega Man Sunrise wasn't that bad, it was just more average. For them to solve their argument, they're going to try fighting me, and whoever one defeats me first will be the victor. As always, I'll be fighting them Buster only. And we have the boss team from Mega Man Sunrise for a nice touch. They have their own invulnerability frames, so it's best to actually turn around and hit both of them at the same time, so you can speed up the boss fight, as shown here. And for the second half of the fight, where they get reduced to half their health bar, or should I say 14, they immediately fuse into one being, who immediately throws all of these scorch shots below, which burn the ground for a short while. You can easily just finish the fight by using the Hornet Chaser, but I'd rather just wait. He's gonna immediately try just diving into you and releasing those flame beams, or fire bursts. 3 or 4 times, then he'll start running back and forth again. I'm using an E-Tank here, I'm gonna take a hit. He only takes 2 damage from the Mega Buster too, or should I say the Charge Shot. One more hit should do the trick. And that was the end of the Scorch Men encounter. I still find it quite unique we're fighting 2 Roadmasters here. And it quite well introduces or addresses on the fact of how we have overlapping Roadmaster names. I wouldn't mind if MaGMML3 took this concept further with 3 or 4 Roadmaster encounters. As a fun fact, originally this encounter had Mega Man Sunrise's Scorch Man, as well as Mega Man Eternal's Scorch Man, but the Mega Man Eternal Scorch Man was removed because for not getting permission from the game's creator. Thankfully we can teleport directly to Eddie's shop because I want to purchase one thing. And we have plenty of both to spare anyway. We have 2 options, the Charged Buster upgrade or the Met's helmet. I will take the Met's helmet over this because I have enough firepower already. I'll purchase a Charged Buster upgrade either in the middle of Tier 5 or at the end of Tier 5. But of course, because I completed Tier 4, it's time to explore the hub world once again. But before I do that, it's time to talk with Dr. Light because he does say a few things differently as we collect more and more energy elements. And I will need to repay a visit again to the dojo, or should I say the challenge tent, because I know I made some errors when I first went over there in regards to how the challenges work. And there's the entrance to Tier 5, which I'll get to soon enough. But before I go to Tier 5, I'll be purchasing another costume as well. And I will be purchasing the costume for Beck from Mighty Number 9. Mainly because of the next stage in Tier 5 that's coming up. I already know what it's going to be based off the livestream from Flashman85. And of course, here's Beck sliding. I believe they used the same sprite sheet from Mighty Gunvolt. There's the dojo, I'll pay visits to later. Here's the challenge tent, here's what I was going to explain. What I said earlier was that most of these challenges would only be able to be completed in the post-game. I was wrong, it's only for the first set of challenges here. There is another set of challenges, or as you can see, you can scroll the list of challenges and see which ones are completable that way. And some of these you can complete even before you reach the post-game, and that was my error. Not all of the challenges required to be in the post-game, some of them you'll complete throughout the game. Like for example, Scrooge McDuck for holding 1000 bolts at once, maxing out my E and M tank supply, easiest challenge, although pop all of the balloons, I'll probably need to do that something. Clear the hub's secret levels, it'll take a while for that. Secret bosses, I'll have to do it in a while too. That's in relation to Nightman, which I'll get to soon. I did this off screen and I forgot to show it. I did that in order to level grind off, or should I say money grind all the bolts. I'll be able to eventually do that. I believe you need to get over 30 DPS for a short period of time. And for these mastery tiers, or should I say mastery rewards, you need to no damage run any level in that particular tier in order to get the challenge. So tier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. As well as any of the levels in the final stages, aka the Wily levels. And I believe this is in reference to Tier X, but we'll be getting to that in the post-game. Every room in a true finale, I don't know what that's in regards to. This is going to be quite hard to do, because having to complete the true arena, or should I say rather, having to defeat all of the dev kit bosses, or should I say all the contestant bosses, without using any special weapons, that's going to be a nightmare. And I get the feeling that having to complete all these challenges is mandatory if I want to 100% the game. And Golden God does unlock something else, but we'll get to that soon enough. Whenever I keep saying soon enough, I mean at the end of the LP. So who knows how long that'll take. Bored of you lost actually. Really, this fight has a big exploit in regards to a certain part of the encounter. Specifically, if you get hit just before the text box arrives, you can retain your movement and keep it wailing on those Scorch Men. That's how you can quickly dispatch of them. And by collecting 35 noble nickels, we now have access to Nightman's secret beer, which effectively acts like the fuzzy thing from Yoshi's Island is, meaning that it's extremely hard to see anything. Thankfully, by entering and exiting the menu, it immediately shuts it off. Thank goodness. otherwise it'd be super annoying. I will need to complete one of those stages using that, so I'll just go on to Tier 1 and probably complete the shortest level there. Well, I don't know what that's in reference to, but I'll take a look at that eventually. I wonder if this will do anything special if we actually use the Brightman skin or something. Well, I've explored all of this hub world, so I guess it's time to visit Tier 5. Which in fact takes place in an arcade, 10 energy elements and 60 noble nickels. So, first up, in 58th place is Holy Carp Mega Man Can Airslide by ParmaJon, with an average score of 26.4, and is Joopy Hornet's least favorite level. Although, out of all of the least favorite judge levels, this is the best one. We'll see soon enough why Joopy really didn't like this level. As a brief word of disclosure, I did playtest this level a bit, although we didn't have as good graphics and we had the default music. Also, as a nice touch, the intro text over there, instead of saying ready, says go. So, as the title suggests, the main gimmick of this stage is that we can airslide, similar to the Charge Kick and Mega Maker. This is introducing us to the fact that our slide still maintains itself even if you go over a gap. This part of the stage introduces us to the fact that we have to do an air jump or we can jump in midair. Otherwise we will not be able to make the gap. Because the Rush Coil, Rush Jet, Super Arrow, and the Flat Stopper are disabled. We only have the wire adapter, but that won't be useful. We can use the wheel cutter, but in other parts of the stage it won't be helpful. Somehow that bolt stays in nothingness, and by hitting the switch we materialize the ground somehow. Mega Man physics, I'm not sure how these switches allow us to materialize solid ground. But I do like the gimmick introduction of the stage, slowly introducing us to a safer version of the air sliding, and then putting it in more dangerous areas. Although I've seen the sign can be a little bit more confusing. It can be confusing to some of the players. And one thing of note to be a little bit more critical about this stage is the fact that I would have preferred if this stage actually had some background that wasn't a solid blue one. Because having a solid blue background makes this stage feel a lot more empty than it usually is. This is also one of those locations where the Jewel Satellite's really helpful. Especially because, oh, I forgot about that. Because unlike the Charge Kick and Mega Maker, we cannot damage enemies mid-slide. Unless of course we have something like the Jewel Satellite.
Jump, jump. Fly, fly.
And thankfully, the checkpoint placement for this stage is relatively more on the safer side. Or should I say less jerkish side. And thankfully there are no one block high gaps that we need to slide into, unlike some of the more difficult Charge Kick levels and Mega Maker. And the music is fine, it feels kind of somber actually. Make sure you deal with these enemies first before you do the slide so you don't end up getting hit by those enemies and knocked back into the ground, or knocked into the endless void. Here you gotta be a bit careful so you don't end up, because these platforms are temporary. So challenge progression is definitely getting harder, but as I said, I would have liked more background aesthetics so it doesn't feel so empty. Here we have two options of going through the stage, go down or go to the right. And by going to the right we just get an Eddie encounter, which I do appreciate, but we don't really need special weapons for this stage, you could do it buster only if you're careful enough. Here you gotta be careful and react to the enemy fast enough, or should I say react to the switch, otherwise you'll fall into the bottomless pit. There is a checkpoint over there, up there, so it isn't too bad, you won't be set back too far.
Jump, jump.
Now this is teaching you to the fact, similar to the Charge Kick of how when you flash you can jump in midair, you can actually break the air jump, or should I say air slide, and do an air jump. So it's a lot better than the Charge Kick and Mega Maker because you need to wait until the Charge Kick shines before you can just break out and do an air jump. But here you can do the air jump whenever, so it's definitely better. And you will need to do this in order to complete the stage, for example here. Otherwise you will not be able to make these jumps. Most of the enemies here are rather fragile, what with the rings, whatever those enemies are called, the Thunderals. By going up here we have access to the first Noble Nickel. Here's where it gets a bit more challenging. This is an easy way of doing the challenge, but let me do it the hard way. The way you're supposed to do is slide over here, shoot it over there, get killed because I failed and did the wrong time. Essentially you're supposed to do is slide over there, jump up over there, shoot the Plantman platform while you're still rising, and you'll fall right on it. I'll try this legitimately one more time and then I'll just use the wheel cutter in order to make this easier. I'm screwing this up a lot more, but when I did the playtesting version of this, I did it in my first attempt. I don't know why I keep screwing it up here. This isn't that hard to do. Oh, it's because of my positioning. I keep positioning myself too far to the left and I end up shooting the reflective blocks. Well, there's a checkpoint over here, so you can try as much as you want if you keep failing. There we go, that's how you're supposed to do it. And I kept failing at it 4 times because I was too far to the left. That wasn't too hard, and you can circumvent the challenge, of course, if you use the wheel cutter. But of course, from here on out, you need to quickly react to the block so you don't end up falling in the pit. Once again, this is a quick reaction stage. It was well addressed near the beginning. These arrows indicate where the firestorm fires are coming from. You better be on your guard so you can get by it as quickly as possible. This stage is a lot more annoying to go through if you didn't have that med helmet, because your knockback time is a lot longer. And I completely just circumvented that key door. Okay. That's really not intended. Now we're being attacked by these rings, as well as the new shotmen. A lot of bouncy gimmicks here. And now for the second half of the stage, the block train. And part of the reason why I've heard quite a few people don't really like the stage. Really, this stage is more befitting of the moniker of Enhanced Mobility. Enhanced Mobility is more like one-way Gravity Man teleports. This one really enhances your mobility, what with the air sliding and... that doesn't look right at all. The junk block shouldn't be able to do that. Now, that'll take us to the end of the stage, but I want to wait up a bit because there's a Noble Nickel somewhere on the right. Oh, wait a minute, I made a mistake. The Noble Nickel is actually in that teleporter. Alright, I entered the teleporter this time. There was some odd glitchiness with getting into the teleporter. I tried using the Sakugarne trick to fall on the spikes from there, but it never accepted me into the teleporter, so there was some finicky behavior there. But you need to enter the teleporter here if you want to get the Noble Nickel. That I do remember. Here you gotta be careful about the placement of the firestorms, so you can make your way across, and I forgot you can bonk your head against those spikes. Still, at least there's a checkpoint over here to make this a little bit easier. And you need to get back here alive if you want to open up the door, of course. But to be fair, as long as you pay attention, it's fine. It's just the fact that if you don't, you can easily get killed. And with that, we're taken all the way back to this block train segment, which I'll do the legitimate way this time. Now, there's a big exploit of having to skip this, actually, and it works with how the Sakugarne interacts with the air sliding. For some reason, you can actually do double sliding, I think. I haven't been able to pull that off, but I've seen a bunch of other people use it to skip the challenge entirely. So, speedrunning strats, I suppose. But of course, I'll be doing this the legitimate way to at least showcase how it's supposed to be done. And to be fair, the block train segment, although slow, isn't that bad. You have so much more mobility that many of these challenges, or should I say obstacles, aren't that bad. If this was done with normal Mega Man physics, these would be quite painful, but here, not so much. I tried doing the Sakugane jump here, or at least I ended up almost around here, but I ended up falling up in the pit. Thankfully there's an extra life over there, so that ends the stage. There is a boss door at the end, and for some reason there's no boss door on the left. Okay. And we end with a boss fight against Top Man. But it's a different version of Top Man. It's a hard mode version of Top Man. Now, because we haven't seen this one used before, I'll at least show off this boss fight. Sure, it's a death-kit boss, but we haven't seen hard mode Top Man before, who fires a series of 4 lines of tops, which makes this encounter a lot more challenging. But with our enhanced mobility isn't that bad, actually. It makes this fight a lot more fun. And I wouldn't mind if hard mode versions of these bosses were also included in stuff like Mega Maker. They'd make it a lot more unique. Wow, 15 minutes. That was due to several failures that happened off screen. Let's see what the judges have to say and learn why Juby didn't like this level. Honestly, the main problem was the fact there was no background and the airsliding gimmick wasn't utilized enough. Most of the areas of the stage had really wide open areas for airsliding. I wouldn't mind if there was some more cavern-based segments of the stage which were a lot tighter and forced you to be a lot more careful with the airsliding and air jumping. Really, that's the main thing that brings down this level. The fact that the gimmick's not utilized enough. So basically, it doesn't fulfill its potential. Still, it's not. I wouldn't mark this as my least favorite level. That honor goes to Yggdrasil, of course. This level wasn't bad, it was just below average to average, maybe below average. I wouldn't say this is the most disappointing level, actually, it would be something else. And Rockman 5 air sliding and Rockman 4 Burst Chaser cross air sliding where ParmaJon took this gimmick from. Honestly, I wouldn't say I'm extremely disappointed, just disappointed. There are other levels like Yggdrasil which drop the ball much harder. This would be like a 20 out of 50 stage for me. 10 out of 50 would have to fail a lot harder. I know I'm being a bit harsh here. Actually, it would be somewhere between 20 or 25 out of 50. Well, 25 out of 50 because everything else, the mechanics and challenges were introduced well, and the difficulty was ramped up fine. Really, the potential wasn't explored enough, and we didn't have a background. And the second screen, or should I say the second nickel, wasn't that finicky actually. It didn't require that much precise timing. And the double nickels didn't cross into absurdity, personally speaking. Even without having the Met helmet, I could do this. I did this during playtesting, I'm sure others can. $24 or $25 would be my score, personally speaking. Well, that's neat. Well, Galaga fits here because this is an arcade room, and I see the Mega Man faceplate over there. So in 49th place is Maze of Significantly Less Debt by MiniMacro, with a score of 26.6. Wow, Pyro and Angel really didn't like this stage, but Guri and Juby did. Okay, only one energy element, so no need to look out for Noble Nickels. Oh neat, we have a musical track from V to the power 6, or rather VVVVVVV, and we also have the checkpoint from there. And this musical track is Predestined Fate. This is the musical track that plays when you're trapped in a weird dimension and you need to guide and rescue your teammates. So because of a plane crash, we're stuck in a strange dimension. I instantly see other VVVV references because of the tile set. particularly the background, and of course we have the spikes everywhere. This will be a unique stage. Also, the title of the stage, Maze is Significantly Less Dead, is a reference to the MaGMML1 stage Maze of Death by Flashman85, which was a really large maze stage and had a whole bunch of gimmicks and took quite a while to complete. I would say it was the largest stage in MaGMML1, the largest contestant stage, that is. So let's see how mazy this stage is. Neat, we also have the gravity switching gimmicks from V to the power 6, although these originated from Gravity Man. We gotta be careful not to fall on the spikes though. Oh, we even have the conveyor belts for some reason. I guess we're being carefully introduced to the gimmicks. I don't know if you're supposed to just instantly keep switching over there due to gravity. I'll mark it off as a glitch. But this is a nice introduction to the gravity switching. And there's the exit of the stage. Although we need to use 5 keys in order to open it though. I guess that's where the maze portion comes along. We need 5 keys. Let's go to the right and see what it has to offer. And that was me completely failing because I knew there was something there. I should have known there were spikes over there because I saw it on this side, so it's my fault. Got it this time. I was a little bit panicky there. Well, hello there, Smetis, and apparently by rescuing him, we got our first key. And we get a whole bunch of M&E tanks, or should I say meme tanks. Well, I know what stage to visit in order to restock on M&E tanks. And using this teleporter takes us all the way back over here, into the central atrium of this stage. We need to access 4 more keys in order to complete this stage, of course. And another E-tank. Oh, and we have a freebie over here by Renhawk, or however you pronounce it. I want to use these keys immediately because I think you lose the keys if you die. The key doors still stay unlocked though. I explored the right side, so it's time to explore the left side. And this has the red gimmick. Just like V, each of these areas will have their own color schemes and gimmicks, I suppose. They will all share the trait of having a gravity switching gimmick. In this case, it's water, I think. We're kind of lacking in enemies over here to focus more on the pathos and sublime messagery, or should I say the sublime theme of going through the gravity switching. I would expect there to be a whole bunch of more enemies, but I suppose it's trying to be a little bit more focusing on the platforming gimmicks. Well, thank you, Guri. No teleporter here? Okay then. It's a short distance away anyway, so it isn't too bad. But I'm really liking the stage. It well utilizes its gravity switching gimmicks. A lot better than the air sliding in the previous stage. Sorry, Parma. Well, to be fair, this is tier 5 after all. This is the halfway point for the game, so the level should be getting better. Although the differences in score between each stage are going to become tighter and tighter as we go up the tiers. Or should I say closer and closer to each other. Well, there are 2 more areas to explore, so I guess we go down this set of ladders. Let's go to the left and see what it has to offer. Okay, a harder version of the water segment we saw earlier. This time with instant death spikes. Well, I could have gotten that E-tank, but I don't want to risk it. Never mind, I need to backtrack. I did this the wrong way. I was going to jump there, but I was too slow. Oh, never mind, we still retain all of our keys, even the ones we used to unlock stuff. That's neat, actually. E-tank time. that was one of the easiest E-tanks, and now I'm back up to full. This stage's usage of all the E-tanks is rather on the generous side, actually. More than generous side. Normally I wouldn't put these E-tanks in such easily accessible areas, especially with all the instant death. This stage doesn't really need all the E-tanks. It's not that difficult. Well, we rescued I Am. Oh, apparently my earlier assumption was wrong. Apparently the key doors actually relock themselves. You still maintain the keys afterwards, so that's appreciated. There's only one area left, so now we travel to the right. If there's one thing I noticed about this stage, it's the fact that the difference between each of the gimmicks, or should I say the difference between each of the rooms, isn't that as significant as I thought it was going to be. I was expecting a different central gimmick mixed in with gravity in each of the rooms, like in V to the power 6, but apparently not. I guess that's why the stage is in tier 5 instead of being a higher tier. Oh goody, this actually has a gimmick, the Sparkman platforms. To be fair, they're a lot less glitchy than in MegaMaker, so it's fine. I suppose this is a reference to their Colgate avatar or something. As we unlocked all 5 keys, or should I say we acquired all 5 keys, we can now complete the stage. This was a maze of definitely less depth, but it felt like it had a lot less depth as well. A lot less depth and depth. Plus it didn't really feel like a maze after all, it was relatively straightforward, and areas didn't loop back into each other like in the original Maze of Death. And honestly, the shielded enemies weren't that bad either. And to be fair, even though the original Maze of Death was a rather divisive level, I quite enjoyed it. I honestly placed it as a tier 4 or tier 5 level in MaGMML1, where there were only 5 tiers. But then again, your mileage may vary, and it was a rather endurance-based level. And honestly, I agree with Angel. The gimmick could be taken further where we combine different other gimmicks with the gravity one. Like for example, the one room over there on the bottom right, it actually combined the gravity gimmick with the Sparkman platforms. I wouldn't mind if there were other rooms like combining it with the Shadowman platforms, Tomahawk platforms, etc. But really, this suffers like the previous stage where it didn't really explore its potential. But not as bad as the previous stage, so I'll still give this a 25 out of 50 at the very least. Or maybe even 30 in some ways. Oh hey, City War. I'll be exploring the City War cabinet in a later part. So it's time for the final level of this part. In 48th place is Volcanic Furnace by GameTrooper with a score of 27.0. A lot more stable scores, or rather less standard deviation. So let's see what this volcano level has to offer. 1 energy element and 3 noble nickels. And we have Volcano Man's team from Roku-chan actually. Darn, I was hoping there was going to be a secret over there. And we're immediately introduced to these Piri Joes, that's what they're called. I called them Grabbuster Joes in the previous part, but in reality they're called Piri Joes. This is a nice introductory challenge, but it feels a little bit too difficult, especially with some of the positioning. Okay, this was a relatively easy noble nickel to get. I suppose this was designed for Buster only, where if you did that Buster only you wouldn't be able to get it normally. We have the Thunderballs over there. We're diving immediately into the volcano. We're introduced to the Tackle Fires, first introduction of Tackle Fires in this engine. This kind of reminds me of Spiky Meltdown from MaGMML1, although a lot less difficult, and a lot less enemies. Specifically this section. We actually have a good shield weapon this time, so the Tackle Fires aren't as annoying. I just immediately destroyed the Nobita. Here's the Subil over here. Oh, that's a creative way of putting the bee batter there. I kept calling them Tadahos in the previous part, in reality they're bee bitters. Not bee biter, bee bitter. And by putting those fire waves up there, or should I say fire bars, you cannot use a charge shot to easily destroy them from the ground. You have to wait for them to get up and shoot at you before you can destroy them. Well, we just exited the welding center, so it's time to visit the magma refinery to the right. Those killer bullets were in the wrong direction. Oh, I mean bomb flyers. Again, another really easy encounter with the Noble Nickel. Seriously, what's with the easy Noble Nickels here in this stage? My personal motto for Noble Nickels is that they should be in harder to reach locations and be a bit harder to get. After all, they are the special collectible / dragon coin / red ring of this game. Well, this is a little bit more difficult than you would expect, mainly because the prop top, or should I say the... I don't know what these are called again. The carry, whatever the carry items are, I'm having a massive brain fart. But I do like that we have a person who's actually utilizing them. Aha, there was something to the left here. Oh goody, an illusion. Well, at least I got the Noble Nickel safely enough, and it didn't fall into the lava. That hologram could make this challenge a lot more dangerous than it is. And that was an epic screw up on my part because I thought the Guts lift would travel further to the left. At the very least, I got all 3 Noble Nickels. And this time the bomb flyers decide to go in the correct direction. And for some reason over there, as you may have noticed, I can glitch how this prop top, or should say carry, moves by using the super arrow there. I didn't expect the super arrow to interact with them that way. Oh goody, Guts lift segment with all these killer bullets. Nothing too bad actually. I was expecting a lot more of them, but they've been placed in relatively easier to hit locations. And yes, I'll be collecting as many of these bullets as possible because I will need them for the extra costumes. And I have nothing to worry about in terms of the Noble Nickels because I collected all 3 of them. 2 out of 3 of them were relatively easy to get actually, too easy. Only the 3rd one was kind of out there. Easy button. You know, that firebar positioning could have made this go a lot worse if I wasn't careful. But by using the super arrow I can completely circumvent the challenge. Well, that's a neat position for the Piri Joes, because the firebar will protect it sometimes, and it's also shielded enemies as well. And this also protects the tech up there. Sorry, I'm forgetting these enemy names. There's so many Mega Man enemies with some odd names. Well, we're in a boss corridor. Let's hope there's a boss fight. Nope, anticlimax again. I was hoping to fight Fireman or something. Or Crashman. So let's see what the judges have to say about the Volcanic Furnace. At least, unlike Combust Man, we actually have fire-type enemies and more fire gimmicks like the fire bars and lava. And really, the stage picks up in the second half, that's for sure. The first half was kind of a tutorial for the second half and less focused. The second half more focused on the Guts lifts and having to jump on them at the correct time so it wouldn't fall in the bottomless lava pit. This is a quintessential average to above average stage that fulfills its gimmick to at least a base level of degree. It has the workings for a much better stage in the future, so try again GameTrooper for MaGMML3. You have the workings for a pretty good level designer. And we have the Gemini twins based off the Gemini Man fight. One really loves arcade games, the one really doesn't like arcade games. So in the next part, I'll be covering the next set of levels from Tier 5. Well then, thanks for watching, and have a nice day. Toodles!